boy raised by lions. In the scorching heart of the African savannah, where the sun bakes the land into golden dust and the horizon shimmers like a mirage, something extraordinary happened. Something that would defy science, shake the core of belief, and remain a mystery whispered about by the few who dared to believe it. It began with a tragedy. A small bush plane carrying a family of 3, a young couple and their 5-year-old son, crashed in the remote outskirts of the Masai Mara. Search teams were dispatched immediately, but days turned into weeks, and hope began to fade. The wreckage was eventually discovered, torn and scorched. Both parents were found lifeless, but the boy, his body was nowhere to be found. It was as if the wilderness had swallowed him whole. Everyone assumed the worst. No one, no tracker, no ranger, no local tribe, could imagine a child surviving alone in one of the most dangerous regions on Earth. Lions, hyenas, leopards, venomous snakes, hunger, heat, isolation. It should have been impossible, but the boy didn't die. He lived. And what kept him alive was unthinkable. Over a decade later, a wildlife researcher named Dr. Sarah Dalton was deep in the savannah, tracking an unusually calm lion pride known for strange, almost human-like behavior. Her team had observed them for months, how they protected certain areas, how they seemed to communicate silently, and how they avoided hunters and villages with uncanny precision. Then one evening, as the sky flamed orange and the plains echoed with distant roars, Dr. Dalton saw something that stopped her heart. A figure, upright, barefoot, and covered in dust and scars, stepped out from behind a cluster of acacia trees. He moved with grace, silent as a predator, eyes sharp like a lion's. His body was lean, muscular from survival, but it was his presence, calm, regal, feral, that struck her speechless. He didn't speak. He crouched beside the lions as if he belonged, as if he was one of them. The lions didn't growl, didn't flee. They circled him, brushed against him, even licked his face. A massive male lion, clearly the leader, nuzzled his shoulder, purring deeply. And the boy, no, the young man, pressed his forehead to the lions as if in greeting. It was the missing child, now around 16 years old, alive and raised by lions. The news exploded across the world. Scientists, media, anthropologists, and skeptics all descended on the region. But getting close to the lion boy was nearly impossible. He didn't speak any known language. He fled from crowds. Cameras made him retreat. Only when surrounded by lions did he seem truly at peace. Dr. Dalton was the first to gain his trust. Using months of quiet observation and offering food without demand, she slowly introduced human presence back into his world. Over time, she learned that he communicated through body language, low-frequency hums and gestures, similar to how lions express emotion. The most astounding part wasn't just that he had survived. It was how he'd been shaped. He didn't fear lions. He mimicked them, hunted like them, moved like them. He could snarl convincingly, crouch with perfect stealth, and detect danger before anyone else did. Psychologists were baffled. Could the human brain truly rewire itself to this extent? Through fragmented attempts at language, he eventually shared pieces of his past, visions of a crash, of on fire, of being curled up and licked by a lioness, of suckling goat milk from a zebra-skin pouch, likely stolen from a local tribe by the lions, of growing up beneath the stars, between beating hearts and protective paws. The lions never harmed him, not once. Years passed. The boy, named Leo, after the pride that raised him, slowly adapted to the human world, though part of him never left the wild. He became a symbol of something forgotten, a bridge between civilization and nature, a living reminder that humanity and the animal world are not as separate as we pretend. But there was one final chapter, one dry season. Poachers invaded the pride's territory. Shots echoed across the plain. By the time help arrived, the pride was decimated. Only the old male lion, the one Leo had called father, remained, wounded and dying. Leo ran barefoot for miles, found the lion beneath a baobab tree, and lay beside him as he breathed his last. No tears, just silence. Days later, Dr. Dalton found Leo alone, staring at the horizon. "He was the only father I ever knew," he said in halting English. Leo never returned to the city again. He built a sanctuary instead, not just for lions, but for all wounded creatures, humans included. And sometimes, on quiet nights, he would crouch among the tall grass, lift his face to the moon, and roar, not out of anger, but remembrance, because the child raised by lions never forgot who he truly was.
Because the child raised by lions never forgot who he truly was, but nature, as always, was not done telling his story. The sanctuary thrived for a time. Word of Leo, the boy raised by lions, spread beyond headlines. He became a legend, then then a symbol. Travelers, conservationists, and the curious came seeking more than just answers. They came searching for something they'd lost, a connection to something real, something wild. Leo remained elusive. He spoke rarely, and when he did, it was brief. Soft words, deliberate, as though every syllable cost something sacred. But he watched, he listened, and when animals came wounded, he tended to them. When broken people arrived, he offered silence, warmth, and presence. Yet peace never lasts long in a world that sees land as profit. One morning, a rumble shook the ground like distant thunder. Trucks, bulldozers, armed men, a corporation had purchased the bordering land, legally, quietly, without warning. Their goal? Mine the earth beneath the sanctuary for rare minerals. Leo stood at the edge of the tall grass as smoke began to rise. Dr. Dalton, now his closest ally, tried to intervene through legal channels. But time was a luxury they no longer had. Animals began fleeing. The sanctuary's delicate balance trembled. And then the lions returned. Not just his pride, new ones, others, drawn by some invisible call, some primal signal. Night after night, more arrived. It was as though the wild itself remembered Leo, and now it came to stand by him. When the bulldozers crossed the sanctuary boundary, they stopped, blocked by over 24 lions standing silently, unmoving, unafraid, and at their center, Leo. What happened next defied explanation. There were no roars, no violence, only stillness. One man fired a warning shot into the air. A young lion stepped forward, calm. Leo didn't flinch. He raised his hand, not in threat, but in command. The lion stopped. The man's gun lowered. No words were exchanged, but something passed between them. A realization, a shift, not fear, reverence. The machines reversed. In the weeks that followed, public pressure surged. Footage leaked. Protests erupted. The mining contract was revoked. The land remained untouched. The sanctuary was saved. And Leo became something more than legend. He was named a protector by the Maasai elders, not in ceremony but in recognition, a living spirit of the land, neither man nor beast, but something in between, a bridge. Years passed. No one knows exactly where Leo lives now. Some say he still roams the tall grasses by moonlight, crouching low in the dark, watching over every creature who calls the wild home. Others say he travels from village to village, in silence, teaching by simply being. But every so often in the distance, people hear it, a roar, low, long, not of rage, but remembrance, because somewhere out there, under the starlit sky and swaying acacia trees, the boy raised by lions still walks.